Whatever Next Unplugged. Conversations about making transformation more human, more honest, and more likely to stick. And here's my next guest, Rebecca Paterson, CMO, building brands and marketing strategies that make marketing the engine of growth. Welcome to Whatever Next Unplugged. And today I have Rebecca Paterson, an acclaimed CMO who's worked in many organisations across many different industries. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Lisa. Great to be here today.
Great to have you on the show, Rebecca. And as you know, I like to lift the lid on transformation. And I haven't had a CMO on the show before, so it's great to be lifting the lid on the marketing side of organisations. So tell me, Rebecca, how has the role of a CMO transformed in the last few years?
So I think the role of CMOs transformed probably more than in the last few years, over the last kind of 15 years or so. I think marketing was sometimes considered more of an adjacent role to the board. And actually now it's right at the center of the exec table and business growth, and really important driver of the pipeline, the revenue, profitable growth. And marketing plays a big role in that, partly because of tech advancements and the introduction of the marketing tech stack, which means that now, we can be really clear on how we target customers and also how the marketing that we've created actually delivers those customers. What was it that we did that helped to bring them to the business?
And what have you found the most challenging? Is it bringing in the human side of marketing to a exec team? Is it the honest side of marketing? What part of it would you say was the bigger challenge, the human side or the honest side?
The two things are hand in hand. So often, when you're sitting at an exec team, you're really having to report on metrics. So you're having to demonstrate your return on investment. And a lot of the conversation will be around customer value, the lifetime value, repeat value, and then what that looks like in the long term. But you can only do that if you're building a human relationship. And that's where brand is really, really important, because that's one area that's often more difficult to quantify, is to say that actually if we invest in the brand, then it brings us sales. But there's been so many studies that say actually, if you just try and create short-term sales without investing in your brand, you very quickly fail. And if you just invest in brand and not in the kind of demand generation side, which is where a lot of the marketing tech is, that again, you won't be as successful. So the two things need to go hand in hand.
And that marketing tech that you've mentioned, how has that changed your relationship with other members of the exec table?
So marketing tech is just evolving so fast. And probably the core of it has been CRM. And that tends to mean that you do need to have a close relationship with the sales director and also the CTO as well when you introduce often quite sophisticated, complex implementations like Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics. That is a team that has to work on that. But what we've increasingly seen in marketing is all of the bolt-ons that have to be added as well to give you that kind of rounded tech stack that says not only do we know who the customer is and what they're doing, but actually we need to understand way before they even interact with us what their intent is. And that means you're introducing other elements and platforms to the stack to help you to do that. And I think that's really hard to do without having the rest of the functions alongside you to help develop that and also build the architecture for it. Because if you just build that in a siloed fashion, actually you find that only marketing can use it. So it needs to work as a more enterprise level architecture across sales and technology as well.
And if I look back to years before maybe the CMO and the CTO relationship was where it is today, marketing used to be a bit renegade. It used to be off doing its own thing, launching websites without any engagement of anyone on the IT side. Do you find now working with a CTO is slowing you down, or do you find working with a CTO is getting you better results with that tech stack than you would have got if you just went CMO on your own?
I think it's a mixed bag. So I think sometimes it has huge advantages to work with a CTO because they do bring a level of knowledge that you may not have and a level of support. And of course, there is the kind of cyber risk to it now, which makes it tough to kind of be renegade because you don't want to be the person that brought something into the organization that we absolutely don't want. So I do think it's really important that you keep that close. But there's also times when you just want to, in your mind, do something small, like investigate a project on Claude, for example, and Claude might not be approved. So then sometimes that can be more tricky. And I think that's where in the AI era, the CTO and CMO conversation needs to develop in a parallel track so that you understand what you're both trying to achieve. But I don't think it's just those roles. It's also the roles of the sales teams, the ops teams as well.
And you've mentioned AI there. Where is AI showing up and how are you keeping up with the AI side of your discipline?
So I think in marketing, AI is, but everywhere, it's still reasonably immature. So we're all in a place of trying to test and understand and experiment. And there's different levels of maturity depending on where you're using it in marketing. So I think lots of teams have moved to having marketing help them with generating or Gen AI helping them with content. I think there's a great use of AI in research and insight. And some things that used to might maybe cost you thousands of pounds, you can turn around quite quickly. So if I think about a project that we did not that long ago, which was looking at our social media, how do we get reach and engagement in that versus a really tight competitive market? That was an agency investment and they did a great piece of work. But now I ran the same question through Claude a couple of weeks ago. And actually, you can get some amazing insight from that. And it also told me what the gaps were in terms of what the customer's talking about versus what competitors talking about and where we could position ourselves. And that would have been impossible before, not without a lengthy piece of work. So there's huge opportunities there. We're starting to see AI agents come in and do some of the kind of really basic automated tasks like scheduling in social, doing analysis. So I see AI as a huge opportunity. But of course, there is a pressure that actually, if you're using AI, then you could be taking cost out.
It sounds actually pretty disruptive. It sounds as if this is the next era of transformation for marketing. You know, you've talked about AI agents doing the operational side of marketing, and you've talked there about the ecosystem, you know, what you may have called agencies in for and what comes in-house. Can you sort of tell me a bit more about those aspects, you know, the agency and in-house and the operational sides of
Yeah, I think so. And I think this is where we're still learning. So, probably one of the biggest shifts that we're seeing is from a digital marketing perspective. Most organizations will have invested heavily in search engine optimization. So, that ability to make sure that your keywords show up so that when someone's searching, you're there. And what started to happen in a number of use cases is that actually the AI tools, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and so on, they are now overtaking Google in terms of where customers are actually going to look. So it's really important in marketing that we work with agencies to understand how that's evolving, because that's going to change the landscape. And what I understand now is that that's going to require a lot more brand consistency. So you can't say one thing in PR, one thing in social, and one thing in your content. It has to be absolutely consistent, because otherwise you create what I believe are maybe lies or hallucinations in AI, but it means that your brand won't show up for those answers. And that is a real learning point and a real kind of change. And that, I think, is about working with agencies, is working in-house, and it's working with kind of the marketing tech tools to work through how you thrive through that as a business, and you don't lose the estate that you've spent a long time building, but you continue to show up for the consumer of that.
So that's a real challenge, isn't it, for marketers? That you said at the beginning that being a CMO is now very much driving a growth agenda, very much helping an organization grow. And then the consumers, customers, clients are starting in a different place. You know, they're not starting in Google, they're now starting querying in ChatGPT and other AI environments, and being connected to that is going to be a challenge. The other side that I guess I'm really concerned about is the human side. You know, giving all of this stuff to an agent to perform, using all of this generative capability to deliver for a brand. There is sort of concerns that I feel with that. Do you have any concerns about overusing the AI opportunity?
Yes, I do. I think uh, my biggest concern is that brands become bland, because if everyone is using the same AI tools, and particularly in highly competitive markets where you're very close to your competitors, then actually the chances that you're churning out the same information or taking the same position is pretty high as time goes on. And therefore, it just becomes nothing. It becomes very average in the marketplace. So I think rather than letting your brand become bland, you have to have a brave brand and become really brave with it, because those that create distinctiveness are the ones that are going to win. And if you think back in time to great ad campaigns, you know, could AI have come up with should have gone to Specsavers? Could it have taken some of the brilliant things that those human teams have done, you know, when they saw the wrong flag unravel at the Olympics, and have that in an ad format by the next day? Could AI have created the Cadbury's ad with a drumming gorilla and a Phil Collins song and gone, oh, that's going to give me a real sense of feeling? I'm not sure that's where AI can really reach what a human will feel connected with and will find funny and will really touch them emotionally. And obviously, when you touch someone emotionally, that's what they remember, and that's when brands become distinctive. So I think it is about saying, yes, use AI, use it for research, use it to do the mundane tasks, but actually then give yourself the space to become the human that brings in all of the brilliance about being a human of creativity.
Do you think that creativity side has already or had already been lost? And actually, AI now will give us the space to bring that human side and that human creativity back into marketing.
Don't know if we lost it. I think that we've overcluttered it, perhaps, because that ability to send out so many messages and to do that level of personalization that's come with digitalization has meant that actually an individual can receive. There was a stat on it, and it was something like, if you go through the day and you're going to work and you work in central London, you know, you're receiving something like 3,000 messages a day via your phone, a billboard, the bus, your workplace, etc. So that's where it comes back to that point of, how do you make your brand be brave? How do you create distinctiveness so that you are the message that stands out amongst all of those others? And there's still some great campaigns, you know, just off the top of my head, Jet2 do a great job. The way that they've used a kind of a audio signal for their brand in what is a very digitized process, I would imagine, in terms of selling a holiday, has cut through in that market. So I think there's still that opportunity to be the brand that stands out.
And with that, do you think, you know, that brave brand, that opportunity for a brand to stand out, a business to stand up, out and grow, are you excited and enthusiastic about this next era of marketing with AI, or are you fearful of it?
I think you have to embrace it. I think as marketing teams, if you don't embrace it, then I'm not sure how you will sustain your position, because there'll be so much about AI that's incredibly useful, like I said, where it can kind of go deep into the data, it can give you insights, it can take over some of the tasks to enable you to focus on that creative side of marketing and do things differently. So I think it's an opportunity, but I don't think there's many people at the moment that would say it's daunting. And particularly in a CMO role where you know, you've got a plan, you've got a budget, you've got a return that you have to make. And at the same time, you're learning a whole new technology that everyone's learning at the same time. including the consumer. And that makes it tough. The consumer's changing all the time. They're the ones that are kind of driving this, the answer engine approach. And marketeers are now having to kind of stay with that and move with that at the same time as the consumers moving as well. So that's what makes it tough. But I would say it's a huge opportunity.
If you look back in your entire career and everything that you've seen and witnessed, what is going to be the defining moment for marketing now this AI era is here? What do you think is really going to be that reimagined future for how and where marketing show up in boards and exec tables to drive growth with AI?
It goes back to what I've said of it has to be in terms of building a brand that has a real human connection, and that creates an emotional connection with people at the same time as using AI to help you to do that in the background. So now, for example, if you create an ad campaign, previously you'd have to go through so much testing, and manually working out, was this the right set of words? Is it a different set of words? Now AI can help you to do that. It can drive efficiencies in terms of the way that you operate, that gives you that space to actually do something that really impacts the market and impacts the customer.
So you're really saying there, let's get AI in the background doing what it's good at, and let's get humans in the foreground and
Yeah.
doing what humans are good at. And I guess if we were to do that, CMO transformations and initiatives would stick, and
Yeah.
organizations would work effectively too. Rebecca, it's been a great conversation. You've taken me on a journey of the marketing world, which I haven't heard previously on any of the podcasts. It's been great talking to you. Let's hope there are no more bland brands in the world, and let's hope there's a lot braver brands in the world with AI in the world with us right now.
Thank you, Lisa. It was great to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to whatever AI brings us.
Whatever next, Unplugged. Conversations about making transformation more human, more honest, and more likely to stick. Find out more at whatevernextbook.com.